The world is humiliating Donald Trump, and it's happening in broad daylight. Right before the State of the Union, foreign leaders are openly blocking him, refusing to support his reckless push toward war with Iran, and exposing just how isolated he has become. This is not diplomacy. This is global rejection. And Trump is visibly spiraling. Allies are denying him airspace, denying him logistics, denying him military backing. Countries he is simultaneously attacking with 15% tariffs are now refusing to stand beside him in a potential Middle East escalation. It is strategic self-sabotage on a grotesque scale. And here's the nightmare for Trump. The resistance isn't just coming from abroad. His own top general is reportedly warning him that without broad allied support beyond Israel, there is no such thing as a limited strike. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Daniel "Raisin" Kane, is cautioning about critical munitions shortfalls, about risks to American troops, about the very real possibility that this explodes into a prolonged regional war. That's not fake news. That's the Pentagon raising red flags. And Trump is reacting exactly how you would expect. He is lashing out. He is denying the reporting. He is claiming on Truth Social that any conflict would be easily won. Easily won? This is the same magical thinking that bankrupts casinos and leaves allies scrambling to clean up the wreckage. Meanwhile, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney is traveling across India, Australia, Japan, and Europe, actively building trade alliances designed to reduce reliance on the United States. While Trump is burning bridges in a fit of ego-driven rage, the rest of the world is constructing entirely new economic corridors around him. The Pentagon is warning, allies are blocking, trade partners are pivoting. The strongman image is cracking. This isn't dominance. This is isolation. This is desperation. This is what collapse looks like in real time. Now here's where the lies start collapsing under their own weight. Because Donald Trump is pretending right now that none of this resistance exists. He is acting like the world is lining up behind him. He is claiming reports about military pushback are fake news. He is insisting that everything is under control. Let's look at what he really said. Trump goes on Truth Social and posts that reports claiming General Daniel "Raisin" Kane is against war with Iran are 100% incorrect. He says, quote, that if a decision is made to go against Iran militarily, it would be something easily won. Easily won. Pause right there. This is the same man who told the American people that Iran's nuclear facilities were obliterated, blown to smithereens by B-2 bombers, that there was nothing left, total destruction. If that were true, if everything were obliterated, then what exactly are we threatening now? What are we negotiating over? Why are military planners warning about escalation? You can't have it both ways. Either the facilities were destroyed and there's no imminent nuclear threat, or they weren't. Either this is contained, or it isn't. The contradictions are incriminating admissions hiding in plain sight. And while Trump is spinning fantasies online, credible reporting is painting a very different picture. Military planners are reportedly warning that there are shortfalls in critical munitions, that interceptor stockpiles would be severely depleted in any serious engagement, that without allied logistical support, even a so-called limited strike risks spiraling into a sustained conflict. That's not weakness, that's reality. But Trump doesn't do reality. He does bluster. He says, "I am the one that makes decisions." He claims everything written about potential war is purposefully incorrect. He says General Kane only knows one thing, how to win. This is textbook gaslighting, because at the same time he is denying pushback, he is publicly attacking allies with new 15% tariffs, alienating the very nations whose cooperation he would need for any regional operation. He is threatening trade partners, undermining diplomatic ties, and then acting shocked when those same governments refuse to back him militarily. Let's zoom out. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada is actively traveling to India, Australia, and Japan. He is addressing Australia's parliament, the first Canadian Prime Minister to do so in nearly 2 decades. He is forging trans-Pacific and transatlantic partnerships designed specifically to reduce Canada's dependence on the United States. That is not subtle. That is strategic diversification away from Trump's volatility. And it's not just Liberal governments pushing back. Even Ontario's Conservative Premier Doug Ford is publicly warning that Trump's tariffs are hurting Americans. He is going on U.S. media saying inflation is rising because of these policies. He is openly talking about how border states and Senate seats could flip if economic pain continues. When conservatives in Canada are effectively rooting for Democratic gains in U.S. midterms because of tariff damage, that tells you everything. The walls are closing in economically, diplomatically, militarily. And Trump's response? Deny, deflect, declare victory. He insists war would be easily won. He insists the press is lying. He insists he alone controls the outcome. But the receipts are piling up. Allies are withholding support. Military leadership is raising red flags. Trade partners are restructuring around him. The image of the unstoppable strongman is cracking. Not because critics are attacking him, but because his own contradictions are exposing him. And this is just the surface. Now let's dig into the details, because this is where the story gets even more revealing. I want to walk through what is actually being reported, what is being said publicly, and how it completely shatters Trump's narrative of control. Let's start with the military warnings. According to multiple sources familiar with internal discussions, the Pentagon's top general is cautioning that there are shortfalls in critical munitions. Shortfalls. That's not a small detail. That means interceptor stockpiles, the systems used to defend against missile retaliation, are not limitless. They take years and enormous funding to replenish. Think about that. If this Iran thing really pops off, as one defense analyst put it, the United States could rapidly deplete high-value interceptors that are essential not just for one strike, but for broader regional defense. I'm not speculating. I'm reading from the reporting describing planners warning about the scale and complexity of a sustained campaign against Iran. A sustained campaign, not a one-night operation, not a surgical strike. A sustained campaign that would likely become one of the most complex and dangerous military operations launched in recent memory. Pause. Because Trump is publicly claiming this would be easily won, now let's layer in the geopolitical reality. World leaders are refusing to provide support beyond Israel. No shared airspace, no logistical corridors, no coalition framework like we saw in prior multinational operations. That phrase, lack of support from allies, may sound bureaucratic. It's doing heavy lifting, because without allied staging grounds and overflight permissions, operational risk multiplies. Fueling, intelligence sharing, missile defense coordination, all of it becomes exponentially harder. You cannot just improvise global war logistics on Truth Social. Now let's pivot to the economic front, because this is happening simultaneously. Prime Minister Mark Carney is traveling this week to India, Australia, and Japan. I'm looking at the reporting describing this as part of Canada's effort to reduce economic dependence on the United States. He is meeting with Prime Minister Modi in India. He is addressing Australia's parliament, the first Canadian Prime Minister to deliver such a speech in nearly 20 years. He is concluding in Tokyo with meetings focused on trade, energy, technology, and defense. Let me repeat that. Trade, energy, technology, defense. That's not tourism. That's strategic repositioning. In a more uncertain world, Carney is saying Canada is focusing on what it can control, diversifying trade and attracting new investment. Translation, building redundancy away from Trump's volatility. While Trump is imposing sweeping 15% tariffs that even Canadian conservatives are publicly criticizing, Canada is acting as a bridge between trans-Pacific and transatlantic partnerships. Now let's talk about Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Doug Ford is not a liberal firebrand. He is a conservative premier. And he is going on U.S. media warning that tariffs on Canada are a tax on Americans. He is talking about inflation rising, about border state jobs being affected, about 9 million Americans waking up every day to build products and services connected to Ontario alone. 9 million. He is openly discussing U.S. midterms, noting that 20 out of 33 Senate seats up for grabs are Republican-held, and warning that economic pain could shift those outcomes. When a foreign conservative leader is essentially saying U.S. voters may punish Trump's party because of tariff chaos, that's not minor. That's a diplomatic alarm bell. Now let's pivot back to Trump's credibility problem. He claims Iran's nuclear development was blown to smithereens. He claims facilities were obliterated by B-2 bombers. Total destruction. But if that were true, if there were no ongoing nuclear infrastructure, why are military planners warning about escalation? Why are negotiations even being discussed? Why is there talk of strikes on assets? You see the contradiction. And contradictions matter in foreign policy. Because adversaries and allies alike watch for inconsistency. They test it. They exploit it. Meanwhile, Trump is denying that General Kane has expressed reservations. He is saying everything written about potential war is incorrect, and purposefully so. He is asserting that he alone makes decisions. But here's the thing about decision-making in the real world. It requires coalitions, logistics, supply chains, intelligence networks, not slogans. And while this geopolitical tension is escalating, Trump is simultaneously embarrassing himself with false claims about deploying U.S. Navy hospital ships to Greenland. Let's break that down. He and Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry publicly suggested hospital ships were being sent to Greenland, portraying it almost like a humanitarian rescue. But U.S. officials confirmed there were no orders to deploy medical vessels. None. The two Navy hospital ships, USNS Comfort and USNS Mercy, are both in maintenance. One undergoing repairs expected to conclude in April, the other in a year-long maintenance period that began last July. So when questions are raised, the Pentagon refers reporters to the White House. The White House refers reporters back to Trump's Truth Social posts. This is governance by social media improvisation. And internationally, it is not inspiring confidence. You have France summoning the U.S. ambassador, Charles Kushner, a convicted felon pardoned by Trump after he publicly criticized French domestic politics. When summoned, he does not show up. France responds by freezing him out. No meetings, no engagement. That is not normal diplomatic friction. That is reputational damage. So let's tally this up. Military planners are warning of munitions shortages and escalation risks. Allies are withholding support. Canada is building alternative trade networks. Foreign conservatives are criticizing U.S. tariffs. Hospital ship claims are contradicted by the Navy. Ambassadors are being iced out. And Trump is insisting everything is easily won. This isn't strength projection. This is a regime improvising in public, and the world is adjusting accordingly. Now let's zoom out, because this is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern, a collapsing pattern. What we are witnessing is not just diplomatic friction over Iran. It is the cumulative consequence of years of erratic leadership, magical thinking, and ego-driven decision-making that is finally compounding in real time. Look at the behavior. Trump is ranting and raving on Truth Social, insisting he alone makes decisions, attacking the press, dismissing military caution as fake. He is speaking in absolutes. Easily won, 100% incorrect, obliterated. That language is not strategic. It is performative. It is the language of someone trying to project dominance while losing leverage. And world leaders are noticing. They are adjusting. They are hedging against him. Canada is diversifying trade. Europe is tightening internal coordination. Trans-Pacific partners are strengthening economic corridors that reduce reliance on Washington. This is not symbolic. This is structural repositioning. When allies begin building systems that assume instability from the United States, that is not a minor diplomatic spat. That is the beginning of long-term geopolitical realignment. And it's happening while Trump is trying to posture as a strongman. Let's talk about the strongman myth. This is the same individual who bankrupted casinos, institutions designed to print money. Trump Steaks, Trump University, Trump Airlines, Trump Vodka, a pattern of overpromise and collapse. A brand built on bravado that repeatedly ends in financial wreckage. Now transpose that pattern onto global security policy. He is threatening tariffs on allies, threatening war with Iran, posting imaginary military deployments, installing pardoned felons as ambassadors, and then expressing shock when credibility erodes. This is not strategic genius. This is reckless improvisation. And politically, the warning signs are flashing. Ontario's Doug Ford is openly talking about U.S. midterms and Senate seats being vulnerable due to tariff backlash. Border state economies are feeling pressure. Inflation concerns are rising. When foreign leaders begin speculating about shifts in U.S. congressional control because of economic fallout tied to presidential policy, that tells you how destabilizing the ripple effects are. Even within conservative circles abroad, there is unease. And here at home, the cracks are widening. The language is becoming more erratic. The response is more defensive. The fixation on personal loyalty over institutional caution more pronounced. Military planners raise logistical concerns, and the response is denial. Diplomats warn of reputational damage, and the response is deflection. This is how systems strain. It's not one catastrophic explosion, it's cumulative stress fractures. And then there's the international embarrassment factor. France freezing out the US ambassador after he refuses to appear when summoned. That is a diplomatic snub of extraordinary proportions. It signals that traditional deference to American envoys is evaporating. When ambassadors are viewed as partisan actors interfering in domestic politics rather than representatives of a stable superpower, doors close. Quietly at first, then permanently. Meanwhile, Trump is claiming compassion for the Iranian people, after previously encouraging protests and then pivoting narratives when violence erupted. The inconsistency is staggering. One day, it's total obliteration. The next day, it's humanitarian concern. The next day, it's threats of devastating consequences. You cannot run foreign policy like a reality show cliffhanger. And the markets are watching. Defense analysts are watching. Adversaries are watching. Iran is watching. When leadership oscillates between bluster and denial, adversaries test boundaries. They probe for weakness. They exploit confusion. That's not partisan rhetoric. That's geopolitical reality. And what's most telling is the isolation. There was a time when the United States could rally a coalition in hours. NATO consultations, joint communiques, coordinated sanctions, multilateral frameworks. Now, reports describe support limited essentially to Israel. That's it. That is not global alignment. That is narrowing bandwidth. And all of this is unfolding just before the State of the Union, the moment traditionally used to project confidence, stability, command. Instead, the narrative forming globally is one of unpredictability and contraction. The strongman image is eroding. The coalition network is thinning. The economic retaliation is spreading. This is not a single misstep. This is the cumulative cost of governing through grievance and impulse. And when allies begin constructing contingency plans that bypass you entirely, when generals are raising red flags internally, when conservative foreign leaders are warning of domestic backlash inside your own country, that's not noise. That's signal. That's the sound of geopolitical leverage slipping. Let's be clear about what we are witnessing. This is the difference between strength and bluster, between strategy and ego, between truth and performance. Donald Trump is insisting everything is easily won, while allies are refusing to back him. He is claiming total control while military planners are warning about munitions shortages and escalation risks. He is attacking trade partners with sweeping tariffs, while those same partners are building economic alliances designed to reduce reliance on the United States. That's not dominance. That's isolation created by reckless decision-making. The world is not reacting to fake news. It is reacting to unpredictability, to contradictions, to governance by social media post instead of structured coalition building. And here's why this matters. When American credibility erodes, it doesn't just affect one administration. It affects deterrence, markets, military stability, democratic alliances that took decades to build. This is about accountability. This is about whether we allow magical thinking and grievance politics to steer global security. We cannot afford that. If you value independent analysis that cuts through spin and exposes the receipts, hit subscribe. Help this channel grow. Share this video. Support independent pro-democracy media that is willing to call out incompetence and defend democratic institutions. Because sunlight is accountability, and accountability is how democracy survives.